The Audi RS Q3 is celebrating 10 years on sale with the release of a new limited edition. It's called the RS Q3 Edition. 10 years, it adds some cosmetic bling inside and out with the same snarling 5-cylinder engine. Let's see what it's all about. Limited to 555 examples globally, the Edition 10 years is available in Sportback form only and charges a $3,800 premium on the regular Sportback donor. The special edition celebrates the RS Q3 lineage with black 21-inch alloy wheels, black Audi badges, darkened matrix LED headlights, gloss black trim and bumper inserts, and a choice of braking packages. The Edition 10 years is backed by Audi's familiar 5-year unlimited kilometre warranty. Servicing costs aren't particularly cheap, at more than $3,500 over 5 years. So for many, the big draw card with the RS Q3 is of course its engine. It's a carryover 2.5 litre turbo petrol 5-cylinder, which has the same identical power and torque figures as its donor. And I reckon that's a bit of a missed opportunity, because really for a 10-year celebration, you could easily augment more figures from this engine. But in any case, you're getting 294 kilowatts, 480 Newton meters with drive sent to all 4 wheels via a 7-speed automatic transmission. Now 0 to 100 officially takes 4.5 seconds, while top speed is limited to 250 kilometers an hour. One area where the RS Q3 isn't able to hide its age quite as well is the inside. The bones of this car are a few years old now, and it really does show with the presentation of the center fascia and the dashboard particularly. You're missing the nice dual screen display of a lot of new Audis, and just some of the buttons, dials and switchgear. They aren't quite in keeping with this car's $100,000 price tag, especially if you look at some of its newer fancy rivals. With all that said though, nice materials, Alcantara on the steering wheel and the gear shifter. You're really nice and low slung in the cabin as well, which is great. And in this particular test car, we've got carbon fiber backed bucket seats, which are really sporty and supportive all at once. It's a really nice place to spend time, but is it worthy of the $100,000 price tag? Probably not in my mind. Age aside, the RS Q3 feels well put together, with ample storage, 3-stage seat warmers, illuminated door sills, and enough trinkets to justify its lofty price. The RS Q3 covers all our basic infotainment checkpoints as standard, with the exception of a head-up display. It also offers the full gamut of expected safety items. Although the RS Q3 isn't officially crash tested, the Audi Q3 donor offers a 5-star ANCAP rating dating back to 2018. Rear seat space is about what you'd expect given the RS Q3's 4.5 metre length. Enough room for a couple of adults on moderate journeys, and at a squeeze, a couple of child seats. Just like its donor, the RS Q3 Edition 10 years shouts its sporty pretensions to you from the moment you jump inside the cabin. From the firm, well-bolstered bucket seats to the Alcantara, you really know you're in something a little bit more athletic than a garden variety Audi. And much can be said for the driving experience as well. Just moseying along at 60 k's an hour now on a country B-grade road. The suspension is firm, the steering is quite heavy, and you can feel every little bump in the road coming through in a good way. Lots of feedback, lots of road noise as well. But that's a performance car for you. Really, this is what this car should be, so long as it can back it up with decent dynamics as well. Then of course the engine, a 5-cylinder turbo petrol. It's not going to be around forever. Tightening emissions laws are going to put paid to that, but in this capacity it's a really nice pairing with the Q3 body. It works really well, loads of download torque, a nice burbling engine note, albeit one that sounds
a little bit quieter than the original RS3s that I can remember. But it sounds nice, it feels good. It's a little bit elasticy from the moment you pull away from the curbside. I think that's a symptom of the transmission binding up a little bit, but also just this drivetrain in general. It's really enthusiastic about putting down its power early and can feel a little bit elasticy, but once you sort of get up to speed, that middling cadence is where this drivetrain really comes to life. I'll switch it to the most dynamic setting. Let's put it in the sportiest gearbox setting as well. Sounds good. It's that unmistakable soundtrack, kind of like half an Audi R8, which it kind of is, coming through the cabin. Loads of theatre. This isn't something you get from a garden variety SUV, and it's the centerpiece of the RS Q3 because it's just so unique in the new car marketplace. But anyway, handling characteristics. I said before, the steering's heavy, the ride is a little bit firm. Well, all of that bodes really well for the performance characteristics of this car. It's a car that gets the basics right, lots of grip, great steering feel, great feedback through all the key controls, including the brake pedal, the chassis, everything else. It's a car that just grips up and goes. It's almost foolproof with the safety systems on board, with that all-wheel drive traction, just how well it can hook up, even on damp surfaces, the way it just instills confidence. It's a real point and shoot machine and a lot of fun on a twisting bit of road. As I said, the drivetrain is the thing that really ties this car together. Sounds fantastic. No shortage of grunt, and so different to anything else you can really get in market.
The RS Q3 Sportback Edition 10 years could be seen as cynical marketing. And with no mechanical changes, some fancy bucket seats, and a bit of visual bling over its donor, you could argue that it is. And yet there is something surprisingly charming and engaging about this high-riding performance SUV, especially if regular roads encompass some twisty hill climbs. It means the RS Q3 Edition 10 years is a strangely fitting way to mark a decade on sale. But at $100,000, it charges a pretty penny for the privilege.